is good to see. So, does anybody have any questions from last week's discussion?
I think I knew.
Yeah,
Can you go over last week's discussion?
the whole thing.
Yeah.
I told you it's online.
Did you put it online?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's in Canvas.
Okay.
Well, it's actually a YouTube video,
All right.
It's a YouTube
So
but it's the link's in Canvas.
I will defer to Ms. Asher on that.
And it, okay.
So, and then if you need an outline, do you still have the original outline that I gave
From the
2 days,
first
2 weeks
week?
ago?
Yeah.
So we just finished that up.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay, so this is a second outline, and what I want to do with this is talk about currency, okay? And so it's going to be a mix of philosophy and theory and a little bit of history as well. And I guess Ms. Asher will ask you some questions over this eventually. Is that correct in assuming that?
Yeah, they
So-
have the question on this week's quiz.
All right. So, anyways, same thing as before. If I'm talking too fast or you got any questions, don't hesitate. You all seem pretty brave, so I just say respect, because I know you're going to do it anyway. So, all right. So let's talk about currency, okay? So when I say an analysis, we're going to do all three of those things. So first question I want to ask, so what is currency? So, Jeff, what is currency? Okay, so money is one way to explain. So what is money? Paper? Okay, it can be, absolutely. All right. Greg, what else? Could you add to that?
Something that holds value.
All right, something that has value. Remind me your name, please.
Colin.
Colin?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add to that?
It's something we currently value.
Okay,
I think it's like anything used to exchange to for
okay.
something.
So any of those, or the combination of those comments, works for me, okay? So you were talking about different materials. It can be anything that we give value for, and usually it's anything that we use as a tool for exchange, okay? And that's the thing about currency, it doesn't always have the same value for everybody involved, and that's what makes it kind of a messy process at times, okay? And then, you know, basically what I want you to know about currency is we use it to get the things we don't have, whatever that is, okay? And historically, if you think way back in time, humans used to create everything that they needed. But eventually they needed more. You know, remember, what was Petrosky's theory, by the way?
That Petrosky, wait, I got it, Petrosky.
Yeah, it's a theory that deals with the advancement of science and technology.
Yeah,
And,
and modernism, was it that? Was it-
oh, you're thinking about, okay, no, that's a different theory,
Yeah.
postmodernism and modernism. So,
Two seats. Function.
right?
Read
Oh.
my notes.
All right.
A paradigm.
No, that's cute.
Ah.
Stokowski, right?
Okay, maybe I should go over it one more time.
Well, I'm gonna arrow to what, who said what?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Jeff, you gonna take a stab at it?
I will.
All right, we'll give you a minute here. to-
Conventional wit? No.
Okay.
Science is relevant. Conventional wisdom?
Science and tech. Engineer.
No, yeah, you're right, but that doesn't explain the theory.
Oh.
What is his theory?
Oh, yeah.
Those are aspects of it.
Theory about currency. Is that what it is?
No, but we're gonna use this theory when we talk about currency.
Theory.
Okay.
So he's an engineer, remember? And he says that technology advances because of a perceived failure
Right.
in the previous or the current technology that we're using. It's a perceived failure. Remember we talked about the telephones?
Right.
Does a landline work? Sure it does.
Yeah.
But we perceive that it could be a better machine.
Mm-hmm.
So now we call it a failure. So it's in our head.
Form of function and form of value.
Now, when he says a form of function, that's just we invent something because we need it. And he says, as far as he's concerned, that's not the way we get technology. We get technology off of old tools that we want to make better because we think they are failing us for some reason, okay? So anyways, currency is a tool, and what I want you to think about, and when we talk about briefly the history history of currency, how it changes or transforms itself, or humans transform it. What it does is we imagine, hello, both you guys grab one of those, we'll get one for your brother there too. Thank you. Where was I?
That's one.
Currency is going to be transformed because people think it can be made faster, smoother, whatever, okay? So, anyways, any questions about that? So we all agreement on what currency is, generally speaking, okay? Now, here's one guy's definition, a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and a store of value. And in your classes, basically, or in the finance class, basically what you're doing is participating in a system of managing that, or recording that, or planning for its use, okay? So, would you add anything else to that, Emily, as far
No,
as
I think that's
finance? Okay, I'd like to keep tying this together. All right, and this is where the word currency comes from, and it means to flow or to run, and that's what currency does in our system, okay? It moves around, and that's what we'd like it to do, all right? So, a couple of things I think is important to know. Now, currency is more than just a medium of exchange, okay? So, for example, I've got, this is for number 2. Currency is an artifact. Anybody know what an artifact is?
Yeah, something really old, ancient.
Okay, it can be.
Or, yeah.
Okay, can this be an artifact, this actual?
Sure.
Okay, it's not very old though.
But maybe it's something we don't use if it's something we didn't use anymore, would it be considered an artifact?
Well, maybe. I mean, it would, yeah, in a sense, yeah.
A man-made item.
Okay, that fulfills what type of purpose?
Any purpose.
Okay, it's just it's something that humans create that represents the culture or the individual or something like that.
So,
Okay.
currency is an art, or, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, so, you look at money. One of the things is money has designs on it. It has numerical value on it, 1 and 5 here. But money also represents the country. So, for example, I'm not Canadian. I grew up in Michigan, which close
Pretty
to
close,
it.
huh?
And one of the things they put on their $5 bill is hockey players, okay? Well, if you know anything about Canada, hockey is big in their
Huge.
culture. So this is a representative of their culture, okay? Think about the symbols on the $1 bill. What does this symbolize?
Freedom.
Okay, freedom, absolutely, okay? How about this?
The
First
first
president.
president? Well,
Okay,
supposedly
so
the first president.
leadership. Now, is there some, I want to say baggage, I don't mean it in a bad way. What does George Washington represent?
Truth and
What's
justice.
that?
Wooden teeth.
Truth.
Okay.
Truth, because he
Yeah,
was honest.
honesty,
honesty,
truth,
right.
Independence.
humility, yeah,
Commander-in-Chief.
commander-in-chief,
Independence.
independence, okay, so we put his face on there instead of Greg's,
Yeah.
because, no offense, Greg, but more Americans see meaning in that. Okay, so anyways, the thing is, this travels all over the world, and so when we send money to Europe or South America, wherever, it's a symbol of who we are, okay? And we like that message to be conveyed, okay? Now, money is also a tool, okay, like we just mentioned, and we'll be talking about that in this class, but it's basically a system or a technology we use to get something done, all right? And technology is, what is the definition of technology? Just as a reminder, we talked about it. Anybody? Definition of technology. Just off the top of your head. You look like you're thinking real hard. Remind me, is it Brenda? Brenda, okay. What is technology, Brenda? I see the steam.
Or about advancement in some type of way.
Okay. So it represents an advancement and at its most basic level, a technology is a tool we use to manipulate our environment in some way. So is that, you're holding a pen, is that a pen or a pencil? Okay, so it's an extension of your body to do something within the environment or your surroundings. Okay, anyways, so money is definitely that, and again, we'll talk about that. Now also, currency is a stimulant, all right? And we know that currency will get your brain to act in certain ways, all right?
Yeah, when you got a lot, you feel great.
Okay, yeah,
makes you happy.
It can make you happy,
Makes you
absolutely.
sad, too.
It does.
It can make you sad.
Happy.
So,
You've got money.
it has physiological attributes to it, okay? So I want you to keep that in mind, all right? So it's not just a medium of exchange, it has all these other capabilities, okay? Now, I also think, and some research I looked at, currency defines what is normal, okay, or normality, okay? And by that, I mean, think about what is the purpose? We have laws in this country, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see, what's your name again? Linnell. Okay, Linnell. Why do in American society why do we have laws? What's one reason we have laws?
So our jails won't be overfilled.
Okay. Or well, don't they
Keep order.
Don't they
Yeah.
overfill?
Keep
Okay.
order.
All right, to keep order. All right. Why is that important?
Because you can't have everybody just running around all
Why not?
willy-nilly.
Whatever they want.
Because it doesn't help our society, it would hurt our
chaos.
society.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you had your hand up.
Because we have laws because they create, otherwise we would have chaos.
Okay.
Anarchy.
So it's an antidote to chaos and anarchy. Yeah.
People like to behave savagely, so you gotta keep people civilized. And
Okay,
some
so,
way.
but ultimately, and all of your answers are correct, ultimately, if you break it down, laws are a statement by society that this is normal, okay? Or this is abnormal, or whatever you want to say. So, I joke with my class, some of my history classes, well, it's a joke, how come we don't practice cannibalism?
Because we have steaks now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've got alternatives.
We've got cattle.
So, we create laws that say, if you eat somebody, you're gonna get in trouble, all right? And everybody can read that, oh, I'm not supposed to eat anybody.
But it's such a waste of.
So
meat.
now, every once in a while, that doesn't work. Now, here's the thing, though, when things go to hell, you know, people start eating each other if they don't have alternatives to that. So anyways, laws are statements by society that says, this is normal. Now, do laws change over time?
Yes.
Yeah, which is,
Because the normal part of that changes. What becomes the norm always changes.
Okay.
So you have to adjust to the norms.
Is there a norm?
Yeah, okay. Like an example would be, back in the 40s, everybody wore suits every single day. That was just how people dressed, and women wore dresses every day. Now, they make laws because people wear their pants around their butts, which is becoming the norm. Do you see what I mean? So they adjusted the law, you know? Because back then, you didn't need a law for people wearing their pants around their butts, you know, looking like fools.
That doesn't mean they were normal.
no,
It is
but-
becoming normal to do it now.
But-
Everywhere you see dudes walking around with their pants around their butts.
Because they can't afford
just
to
fix it
go.
up.
But that doesn't have to do
Oh,
with
no,
our
but
law.
Some states
Yeah,
have,
sure.
some states have laws
Have
and will
laws
give you a
against that.
ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
Virginia.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think what he's trying to say is norms change over time, okay? So when we're talking about a norm, we're talking about,
Ain't gonna be tomorrow.
absolutely.
Right.
Okay, so, and if you've been around the planet long enough, I've been here 56 years, you can tell things have changed
Mhm.
quite a bit over time. So anyways, so how does money cause you to be normal? Based on the idea of
What normal is?
yes,
I think it does because you can live, you live like the American dream of what they tell you is the American dream, to have a nice house, a car, you know what I mean, have a good job,
okay. And to get that, you have to act or behave a certain way.
to get the money to do, yeah.
Okay.
You have to have money.
Remind me your name.
Alex.
Alex, okay, go ahead, Alex.
Money allows us to supplement what we, well, I mean, I guess I didn't really think the whole definition that I was coming up with all the way through, but it allows us to supplement what we need or what we see fit to apply to our lifestyles.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and tie that a little closer into the concept of normal then, please?
Well, what we need on an everyday level, what is normal for us to have on
Okay.
an everyday level, I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
All right, no,
That's what I meant to say.
and very
see
good,
that.
thanks. Yes, sir.
Well, I would say it's, well, first of all, I think we as people view normal as someone maybe who's stable, someone who, you know, has a roof over their head, food, clothing, you know, someone who has all those things. That's what I think the world sees as normal.
Yes.
And with money, you know, if you can get all those things, it's viewed as a normal thing.
Okay.
Right, so that's how I maybe think.
Absolutely.
It's considered
Now,
normal to have the basic needs for survival.
say that one more time, a little louder.
It's considered normal to have the basic needs for survival.
Okay, so give me a specific example.
Like he was saying, shelter, food, not necessarily comfort, but like,
The basics.
something to protect yourself with.
Okay.
Basically, it's dating back to all the way to cavemen.
So in American culture, American society, what is our expectation of an individual?
To
An
be-
upstanding citizen.
As
Okay,
a-
to follow the law
Productive.
and be productive, which involves currency, right?
Currency, right.
Okay, because isn't that a measure of productivity?
Mhm.
And then to get back, to be able to take care of yourself, right?
And your family.
And your family, okay?
Pay your taxes.
And pay your taxes, okay. But that's all part, currency is involved in all of that. Now, if you look at the bottom of page one where it says social control, okay? And social control is the effort to try to get people to act normal. Remember I talked about Foucault a couple of weeks ago?
Uh-huh.
The guy who said, schools were about brainwashing you.
Mhm.
Well, he would say, money is a tool to make sure you behave or to reinforce what you've learned in school. And we have two types of control. One is called informal and one is called formal control.
Can you say what you said about social control in the beginning of the statement, about something about social control is?
Well, an example of it would be like a law. And a law is, social control is an effort to, or an antidote against chaos. I think somebody,
Okay.
who said chaos, was it?
Somebody back there.
Okay, somebody back there, all right? So we have concepts of social control so people will
Okay.
all act as close to the same as possible,
Uh-huh.
okay? So, now, informal and formal control, does anybody know the difference between, because sociologists say we have two different types of control, informal and formal. Anybody want to take a stab?
I think formal control is like society's rules, and informal control is like your own
Okay.
controlling of yourself. Like,
All right, that's one possible definition. There's another one as well, okay? So let me ask you one question. When you say society, how are you defining society? You talking about the government, the people, a mix of both? Or?
Yeah, society.
Okay. Well, what a sociologist would say, and I'm not saying what you said is
Mhm.
incorrect. Actually, I think it's a different way to put something, but informal control is like peer pressure, okay? Formal control is law, all right?
Okay.
Where does money come in? Is it informal way of controlling us, or a formal, or a mix of both?
Formal.
What's that?
It's a form of control.
Formal control?
It's both.
Okay. And who
Well,
said,
then-
why do you say it's both?
Because the people who run the laws, the government, can give us money to do what they want. And
Okay.
our peers can give us money to do what they want too.
All right.
So money would be on both sides of the coin.
Okay, yeah.
But I think it goes with what you're saying, that informal is peer pressure, because, it's like keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing. Everybody wants to have that new car, everybody wants to have
Okay.
a better home, and the other part is the law side of the control.
So you're agreeing with him that
Yeah,
it's
I do,
both?
that it is
Okay.
kind of both.
Do you see it that way? I mean,
I don't know, I guess, it's a form of control to me. I mean,
Okay.
you have to have money to do basically almost anything today.
okay.
And how do you get that? Being controlled by somebody, unless you're your own boss, and then you're controlled by
You're
the
still
government,
controlled,
because you gotta pay
exactly.
them people.
Well, I'm saying, are you ever really your own boss?
No.
No.
Okay,
Never.
which is another topic for another day, but, okay. All right, so, everybody good on social control? We got that?
Yes.
Okay, so, money is also, okay, we talked about that. Okay, and I keep trying to find a better word. I can't.
I get it, though.
All right, so, so explain it. What do you-
I get it. Currency is a lubricant only because it makes things smoother as it goes, like
Okay.
the flow of what you were talking about, where the name comes from. Like a lubricant helps something flow, so I
Okay,
guess.
it depends on what form currency takes, okay?
Okay.
And we'll talk about that in the history. How come we don't swap fish and corn anymore, or things like that?
Trade pebbles.
Okay, or
They
trade.
ain't got no,
Barter.
well,
Barter.
they do, that's called bartering.
Yeah, but how come we don't barter anymore?
Well, actually, it's coming back.
Maybe my
Absolutely.
neighbor
Why?
did.
Because we have
Okay,
currency.
one at a
We're
time.
not cavemen anymore.
Okay.
Well, Because the value has a value on the money.
Okay.
So you know exactly.
But, you know, we could, and you're right, bartering is going back, or in some communities, it was coming back, especially after 2008, because there was a shortage of money. It's not because they necessarily wanted to, it's because they had to. So I remember reading an article about a little town in New England, and didn't have many jobs, so people just posted what their skills were, so.
I seen that.
Oh, did you see that one? Okay, so explain how that was carried.
They just, the people, there was no jobs or nothing around, so instead of money, they started bartering with them. They went around and everybody put their name on a list of what they could do.
Yep,
Oh,
and then
cool.
they swapped it.
Swap jobs and stuff,
Okay,
yeah.
so.
I need some meat, I'll do some job for you, you can give me a pig.
Right,
Okay.
right. That makes sense.
Or I'm a hunter, you need some meat, you paint my house and I'll
Right.
get you a
I got
buck
an
or
axe, I'll
something.
chop some firewood,
Okay.
sell it to you.
But here's the problem with that, and this is where the notion of money making things smoother. What if there's a list and you don't really need any of that? And the other thing is it takes time, okay, so,
And you're poor.
you know,
You're
and I
considered
need the
poorly.
money now, okay? So, we have paper money now that basically makes it go faster, all right? So, anyways, now, we're gonna get a little philosophical. I've heard several people, I've read people say currency is an organism. And remember last week we were talking about
Right.
whether those machines were alive?
Right?
You're absolutely right.
There are some people who think money has a life in and of itself.
Mhm.
Do you agree or disagree?
Um,
Lynette, what do you
I didn't even
think?
hear what you said.
Okay. But does money have a life of its own?
No.
Is money an organism? No? Why not?
It's not breathing.
Okay. All right, so it's not breathing, but
more
does
like a
something have to
symbiote.
breathe to be alive?
I think so.
Okay, it has to
We
have
already had this dis-
respiration.
We already had this discussion.
I think
Yeah.
it's more like a symbiote, if anything.
Say that one more time?
I think it's more like a symbiote.
Okay, so explain whatever to everybody what that is. please.
Something that relies on something else to survive.
Okay.
And in this case, I feel like currency would be something that relies on people to give it value
Okay,
for it to survive.
Cause it's just paper.
yeah, it's just, yeah, it doesn't, it's meaningless, yeah.
but if
I
it
feel like it
is,
gives life more than it is life.
Say that one more
Makes
time.
someone alive more than it is alive itself.
okay,
It's not alive, but it gives
all right.
life to it.
So, Alex, let me ask you, or let me go back to your point. I see what you're saying, but, if you are dependent on something, does that mean you're not alive?
No.
No, but it doesn't necessarily make you any more indistinguishable from, it doesn't make you your own, I guess it doesn't make you more distinguishable from something else. It doesn't
Okay.
make you, I don't know how to say that exactly
All right.
into words.
Well, the argument some philosophers would make is it is constantly transforming itself. And that is a definition of life. I mean, you think about us. I mean, right now, parts of us are being born and are dying as we're sitting in this room,
Uh-huh.
okay? So, historically, currency has done the same thing. Okay, so anyways, and then the last thing I want to, currency is a man-made thing, and the value that it has, you could argue, is artificial.
Okay.
Does that make sense or not?
The value is artificial?
Yes.
Why? Because it keeps changing?
Part of it is
We,
that.
I
but
think because we
part of it-
create the value, right?
Yeah.
We created it.
We use our imagination to create the value,
Mhm.
okay? So, Jeff, I see you got some jewelry on, right? Okay. Maybe I should.
Okay.
All right, so, it's got a gold tint to it.
Yes,
So is there some precious metal in there?
yes.
Okay, so you paid whatever sum you paid for that. Why?
Because to make me feel good.
Okay, so,
I was gonna say, because I'm pimp.
okay.
Well, you already said it.
All right.
Yeah,
This is a G-rated video, right? So,
Right.
keep it clean. All right, so, anyways, but in your, the fact that, you would purchase that, and there's probably other people that wouldn't, or would want more than just what you purchased. So, you can't give it a universal value, although we try to.
Well, actually, I bought it for one reason, because gold was on the way up,
Yeah,
and, you know, I got it cheap, and I thought, well, if I pay that much for it, gold rises, it's gonna go up in price.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
And
holds
it
its
did.
value better than anything in the world. Gold.
but, but gold has value because we give it value.
Right.
I mean, you can't eat it,
Right.
you can't really make
Actually,
tools out of it.
It's
I-
based on demand.
Goldschlager.
Not like.
It's
just
based
pure
on
gold,
demand,
but I've
how
seen
much-
a lot of
I
videos.
drank Goldschlager and it had gold
Okay.
flakes in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the demand, again, I would argue, or some people would argue,
Uh-huh.
is artificial. Because people think it's gonna for example, you bought that because you thought, okay, this is a good investment. And a lot of people, have been doing that lately, okay? And you're able, chances are, you're gonna do well on that investment, you know, especially if you can hang, if you have the luxury of hanging on to it for a while. But it's only because other people want it. They don't
Right.
need it, but they want it,
So it
so.
could go either way, lose money or make.
So anyways, keep that in mind, okay? And that's why currency changes forms all the time, because people change, all right? So, and again, we talked about this. So, anyways, the other thing I wanna mention, I don't have, oh, actually, this is for number 3.
Yep.
Commodification, all right? Does anybody know what that word means?
It has something to do, like a commodity, right? It has
Okay,
something
so what
to
is a
do.
commodity?
A commodity is anything you like sell or trade or something like fruit or, something like that, something that gets
Something
like.
needed.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
What historians, philosophers, sociologists, whatever, anthropologists have said is, when we introduced currency into our culture, we gave everything value. We gave everything a measurable value, I guess you would say. So let me ask, go ahead and write that down, and let me ask you a question, all right? Everything has value. Now, when I say this, we're talking about predominantly Western European culture, which would include American culture, okay? Everything has a price tag.
Uh-huh.
Is that true or not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
even people.
What's that?
Even,
yeah, it's true.
It's true. Is there anything that doesn't have a price tag?
I don't think so.
You.
Well,
Nope.
air,
Slavery.
Air?
I guess.
Air doesn't have a price tag? Anybody?
Well,
Yes,
like
it does.
oxygen.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yes,
You
it
pay for
does.
air
It cost me
conditioning.
$1.50 this morning.
Well, I mean, like oxygen. Like,
Okay,
That's
so,
breathe,
got a
it
price
doesn't
tag on it
cost.
too. Haven't you
I guess,
ever,
yeah, I mean,
went
if
to
you-
a air bar?
I guess if you don't have it,
Cost
okay.
energy.
Well,
I guess.
think about it. Is the
Yeah.
quality, another way to think about it is the quality of the air. Does that have a value?
yes.
Sure
yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it depends.
Now, is there anything else that may not have value? When I say value, a monetary value. How about love? Does love
No.
have a monetary value?
Yes, it does.
It could,
Yeah, it does.
It's not
depending
supposed
on your
to.
definition of
Well,
love.
hold it. I'm not saying whether it's supposed
Yeah,
to.
yeah. But yeah, I
Well,
guess
does
it
have
does.
value.
So how does love have a monetary value?
Well, I hate to say it, but streetwalker, they're paying for love. Or whatever.
That's
Is that
sex.
love or
That's
is
not
that-
love. That's
It
sex.
depends on who the person
I
is,
think
man.
Valentine's Day is a good example of how
Well, that too.
love has
You're
monetary
gonna end
value.
up spending
Okay.
money on your loved one.
All right.
so That's love.
And it also, I'm just saying, it also has value because
Because it said that.
It-
I mean,
a woman will be more attracted to you. The more money you have, the more she's attracted to you.
Yep.
Some women, I'm not
And men,
generalizing.
and men.
Same thing goes both ways, so
Yeah.
that
You
has a
think men
lot.
think that way too?
Yes.
Oh, no way.
Where
Hey.
you at?
Just kidding.
Huh.
Okay, remind me your name.
Some men need for-
Siobhan, okay. Siobhan, does religion have a monetary value?
Yes.
Or faith?
Absolutely.
Okay, how?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
but I think it is.
The money basket.
How can religion have a monetary value?
Because the church asks for donations.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah,
Now,
it's called
Tithes
tithing.
and
tithings, okay. And what do they give in return? What does the church say, hey, if you donate to my,
Don't ask me about
I'm
the
gonna
church.
pray for you.
okay,
Wait, go ahead.
Blessing.
Right,
Blessing.
right.
blessings, or, well, there's community as well, right? You get strength. Is love, does the church offer love?
Yeah.
Sure, okay. So anyways, it's interesting when you, does anybody know the English sea captain that first came to this part of the world back in
Christopher
about
Columbus?
mid-1770s?
The Viking guy?
No, English guy,
Oh,
James Cook.
oh, yeah.
Okay, James
Oh.
Cook rolls in, he gets up to Vancouver Island, and one of the first things he does is, if you look at his charts, he starts writing down what's around, okay? And what he saw right off the bat was the stuff worth value. Big, long, tall trees and furry sea otters. And he did not see furry sea otters and big, tall trees. What he saw was English currency. Okay, I can convert this into pounds. Now, what were they using tall trees for back in those days?
Build homes.
To build it.
Well, not that.
Ships.
Ships, the mast
Oh,
for
yeah,
ships. Now,
that's
they were
right.
doing that as well, but the nice big straight ones, they cut those down and take them back to, so they could, that was their power system. So, and then, of course, the sea otters, they have a very soft coat. Anybody know why their coat is so soft?
Yeah, 'cause it's like 1,000 hairs per every square, oh, well, to keep
He's
you
got an
warm. but-
undercoat.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's true.
keep warm
But the
and
other
stuff.
thing is their hair, one of their hairs has a little pocket of air in it. Okay, that's what makes them so buoyant.
Buoyant, yeah.
So if you go to, the zoo, you'll see them eating on their back in the water. So anyways, and some people say we've gone overboard with this, the commodification of stuff. But anyways, currency has done that. Okay, so let's talk about, so you guys say, well, this, currency doesn't have a life. Well, let me make an argument here. You can agree or disagree when I'm done, okay? So this is for number 4, okay? Now, what is the most basic thing a life form needs to survive?
Energy.
Energy, okay? Energy is the most basic currency to life, okay? Keep that in mind, energy. And what I'm gonna try to do is talk about how humans have used currency, like greenbacks or credit cards, to get that energy, okay? So there's energy, and this is a carbohydrate, okay? So, and when we eat food, that's what we're doing, is we're eating carbohydrates that gives us the power to do whatever we gotta do, okay? So, and in nature, energy is the currency, okay? So, I guess, for 4, where it says, what role does energy play in nature? It is the primary currency of nature. Everything is negotiating for energy. Now, there are consequences if you have too much or too little energy. For example, right now in the United States, anybody know what the big health issue is?
Yeah, we're too
Obesity.
fat. People are getting
Okay,
diabetes.
and why? Type 2 diabetes is going through the roof.
What we don't have to go out and hunt our food down
Okay,
anymore.
but what are we eating that's really driving it through the roof?
Sugar.
Fast food.
Sugar, okay, so, and basically, when you eat sugar, you get tons of carbohydrates that most people don't burn off,
Right.
okay? So we're trying to fix that now, we'll see how that goes, but some governments are actually going into, the idea of, I guess you'd say, making it illegal in certain areas.
Didn't they do that in New York? You can't
Yes,
sell
they
over a
did.
certain size soda?
Yes, they did that, I think they rescinded that, but.
McDonald's stopped all the supersized stuff, all the
And
we've
healthier
got
menus
menus
You
now.
double if you're over 300 pounds on an airplane now.
You gotta buy another ticket
Yeah.
for 2 seats, huh? It's crazy.
So, okay, now, here's the thing.
What I say, we don't gotta hunt no more.
Everybody on the same page here? Okay, so you see where it says, how did pre-Neolithic humans capture energy? Okay, they were hunters and gatherers, okay? That system works. Some people still use it today. But when it comes to energy, why is this an inefficient method of gathering it? Yeah?
Because you're spending more energy to get energy.
Okay, you're not always spending energy, but it's very easy to do so. You're walking this fine line. Anybody ever hunt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what animals were you stalking?
A bear?
Okay, did you move around trying to get the bear, or did you sit in the line?
Actually, the only time I ran was to the car.
Okay.
I sat in the blind.
Okay, and was that when the bear was coming after you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that means energy deficit. Did you end up eating the bear?
No,
Oh,
I
okay.
missed him.
But anyways, you know, a lot of hunters today will sit in the blind, you're not burning a whole lot of energy.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you used to
That's
roam
cheap.
around, okay?
For mile.
And here's the thing, if you were a, you know, pre-Neolithic human being, and you're walking around too much, you know, in your case, you don't shoot that bear, good chance you and your family are gonna perish, all right? So, that's the thing, there's very little room for error, okay? So, now, what they did, pre-Neolithic, and I'll tell you what Neolithic means in just a minute, but primitive man, basically, there wasn't a whole lot of them, so they would trade when they could, but most of the time, they were out there on their own, okay?
Well,
So,
the natives were smart.
well, they adapted to their
Yes, they
circumstances.
traveled with the herd.
Yes,
They cut down on energy.
okay.
So basically, they were rich, right?
Well, it depends because sometimes they guess wrong about where the herds are. So you take the, like the Sioux or the Cheyenne,
Right.
okay? Now, their culture, you're right, very mobile. And a teepee, and you guys have seen what a teepee looks like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, those are an engineering masterpiece because you can stay very warm in them. And the other thing is you can tear them down in 10 minutes
Take 'em
and
with
head
you.
down the road. Okay, it takes a little longer to set them up, but not much, okay? And the stuff was easily replaceable, the hides were made after, of the buffalo skins. But the one drawback is it did take a lot of energy because not only do you have to feed yourself, but your family, and then
Your
when
horses.
horses come in. Now remember, horses aren't around until 1492.
Right.
So does anybody know what they were using, what were they using as beasts of burden before they got horses?
Oxen.
They didn't have those either.
Buffalo?
Dogs.
Dog, yeah,
They were
dogs.
using
makes
dogs,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
What do dogs eat?
Meat?
Meat, okay, so if you're gonna have a dog, now, they're obviously not carrying a whole hell of a
Yeah.
lot, but if you're gonna have a dog, you're gonna have to feed them meat,
Right.
and that means that's cutting into your energy source,
Right.
okay? So, what they're doing is, they're using a lot of ingenuity, like Jeff says, but even then, they've got problems, okay? So, so one of the things they have to do is, all right, their problem is when they got energy, they had to consume it quickly, okay? In most cases, not all cases, but eventually what they do is they figure out how to store it, okay? So, and the nice thing, you know, for example, in culinary, what do you do with most of your food when you're not cooking it? Where is it?
In the refrigerator?
We don't wanna tell you.
No, it depends on what it is.
It's top
Okay,
secret.
but it's in the cupboard, it's vacuum sealed, right? Or it's frozen, or it's refrigerated?
Yeah, ours is
Okay,
vacuum
well, they don't have that, so they figure out ways to create that. So, for example, the Puyallup participated in what was called a potlatch. Anybody ever heard of a potlatch?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does a potlatch work? Anybody know? Potlatch, not a potluck, potlatch. Okay, potlatch would be this, all right? Let's say we're all in a community, okay? We're all part of a village, all right? And I want to be the leader of the group, okay? So what I would do is I would host a potlatch, and basically I would gather wealth and then distribute it to you. And in return for the gifts I gave you, you would give me your loyalty, okay? So, but one of the things that does is it redistributes wealth and most importantly food. So if I'm a person that's a really good salmon fisherman and I've got all of this fish, I can make sure that you get some, okay? Now there's a cost to you, all right, and your cost is your loyalty, but you're trading loyalty for energy, all right? And that's one of the reasons the Puyallup did that, okay? Now other tribes, when they don't have a whole lot, the Puyallup could do that because they had a lot of stuff to distribute. But, you know, squirrels, they bury stuff, so, you know, it's sort of like, this is their savings account, okay? And then humans, we learned how to, you know, one of the things we learned how to do is dry stuff. So if you take meat, cut it real thin, you can dry it in the sun.
Jerky?
Create jerky in an oven by, you know, low heat. One of the things the Plains Indians did was made this stuff called pemmican. All right, anybody ever heard of pemmican before?
Yeah.
All right, you know what it's made out of?
No.
Okay, it's dried meat,
Yeah.
dried berries, okay, and then you get animal fat and you melt it down, which animal fat melts down really quick,
Mhm.
okay? I remember I made some for one of my history classes a few years ago. Do you remember this? Maybe you don't.
I didn't eat it.
So
but I
anyway, so I go
remember.
to Safeway, Well, that's true, because I have
Yeah.
meat. All right, so I go to Safeway and I say, hey, I need a couple, not knowing what I was doing, I said, I need a couple, 2-3 pounds of animal fat. I was in the butcher shop, and they say, hey, no problem. And, you know, fat doesn't weigh much. So 2 to 3 pounds, I get this huge blob of fat, okay? So I take it home, and it melts like Crisco, you know, it goes down there, so I got way too much fat. But what you do is you melt down the fat, and then you throw in the dried fruit and the dried meat, and then you let it solidify. You turn it into like a snowball, and that food will last up to 10 years.
Wow.
So
what's the preservative in there that makes it stay good for that long?
well, they've taken out when you dehydrate stuff,
Oh,
they've
yeah, okay.
taken out the,
It's all liquid out.
So I guess
So is that
smoking
similar
it
to
does the
salting?
same thing, right? It dehydrates?
just like, what's that?
The smoking, is that what dehydrates?
Well, the meat, you either put it out in the sun or you I put it in the oven,
Yeah.
just at 180 degrees for like 2 to 3 hours, okay?
Okay.
What was your question?
Salting.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to salting here in just a second, okay? But, the Plains Indians don't have access to salt, okay? So this is how they did it. But, segue into this, salt, in a lot of the world becomes the way of preserving things, okay? Preserving food. And historians think salt is one of the first currencies we have.
Yeah.
Because people need it, okay? It's a way to make energy last longer. And the other thing is, we think this is the first resource that humans actually fought wars over.
Yeah,
was
they-
salt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? And again, we take it for granted, you know, what's a cylinder of salt cost, like 97 cents, something
Yeah.
like that?
Shit, not
So
the
back
point.
then,
It's more
it was,
than
I saw a thing about that and how they still have those nomad guys that trek across the desert, bringing the big chunks of salt back and selling them. It's still a currency
Oh,
thing
yeah.
over there.
When Lewis and Clark come out here in the early 1800s, they set up at a place called Fort Clatsop, and they need salt because they're gonna take a trip back to St. Louis, and they wanna preserve the meat. And they have to trade the Indians for it. The Indians along the coast would gather up seawater and start these big fires and boil it down. And I, you know, in the journals, Lewis and Clark are really pissed at the Indians because they won't sell the salt cheap. You know, they have guns and tools and stuff like that, so they didn't really go for the Indians. But, you know, if you go to the Dead Sea in the Middle East, they got big chunks of salt just laying out like that. And this is where we think human civilizations first started, human cities, urban areas. And so as these places form, you need more food, you need more food storage. So some of these cities, right around this area, they become regional powers because they can control who's mining the salt and who's
No
not.
wonder
So,
Jerusalem is so powerful.
anyways, okay. Now, when animals, life forms have exchange, sometimes we call it skewed exchange, okay? So, you know, you look at this case, we can see what the lion is getting out of the zebra. What's the zebra getting out of this?
Hey.
A long nap, I guess. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so we have a skewed exchange. There's also symbiotic exchange. And this is where life forms basically rely on each other for existence, okay? And, you know, just a couple of examples in cellular exchange, right? I don't, if you guys have had zoology or biology, you probably talked about this. So, you know, what a cell does is mitochondria come in, mitochondria give the cells energy, the cells give the mitochondria some protection. You know, we got plants and non-human life form, you know, working together. There's a guy named Michael Pollan. Anybody ever read this book, The Botany of Desire? He's got a theory about symbiotic exchange. So he, if you ever get a chance, I don't know if you like to read this kind of stuff. It's a little zoology, biology, and I don't know what else you'd call it, but he does a analysis of the apple, the tulip, the potato, and marijuana. And what he argues is man grows those crops because he gets something out of it, right? So, I mean, why is the apple, in American history, early American history, the apple is a very valuable fruit. Why?
Because it has so much sugar.
Yeah, that's where they got their sweetness, okay? Now, humans are genetically programmed to like sweet things, okay? Because in the natural world, there is nothing that you eat in the wild that is sweet that will kill you. It's all, you know, digestible, I guess you could say, all right? And the other thing good about the apple is you could turn it into alcohol. And that was a big deal on the, out in the frontier because that was a lot of times the only safe thing you could drink. Yes, sir.
How does the potato give you control?
What's that?
How does the potato give you control?
Uh,
The use of potato.
because it's fast energy and allows you to do other things.
Okay.
Okay, and potatoes are great foods.
It is. You can last
Carbohydrate.
forever. Yeah.
Is there a little protein in the skins? Okay.
And they're filling, so when you're
Yeah.
poor, you eat a lot of potatoes.
Now, here's the thing he says.
You know? And
Humans-
good potatoes, man.
Humans get something out of the plants. He says the plants actually get something out of the humans because the plants need somebody to nurture them, feed them, whatever. And so, what he asks is, you gotta think, or you gotta use your imagination. Plants don't think like humans do. But he says, plants genetically have an urge to survive, and they have changed themselves to make themselves interesting, or alluring to humans, and therefore humans will keep them surviving. So he would say that's a symbiotic relationship. So I don't know if you're buying that or not. Okay, and then of course we use animals all the time.
Weird.
All right.
That's just weird.
Now, one of the things, again, you gotta, when we're talking about exchange systems, you're exchanging something because you hope to at least come out even or have a profit. But in this case, for example, I talked about raising dogs. We don't raise any carnivores to eat because it costs way too much to feed them, okay? So you think about, thank you. Where do we get, where's our main source of meat protein?
Cattle.
Cattle, which is a,
Chicken.
okay, vegetarian. Chickens, they will eat meat, right? But mostly you can feed them on
Grain and
plant-based,
corn.
like grain, okay? So pigs, they'll eat meat, but we can also raise them on other things. So that's because we want a positive exchange, okay? Let me see here. Where am I on this? Flying through here. And we'll do a little review. So, here's the other thing. Humans come up with this concept of excess, okay? And excess has a big impact on the idea of exchange. How does it do that? Or what impacts it? Yeah.
If you have a lot of something, then you can afford to give something.
Okay, so with extra stuff means you're more able to trade, okay? And the other thing it does is it creates, for example, before I get on to this other point, this is called the triangle trade system, and this was used in the United States up until 1808. So Europeans were creating manufactured goods, take them down to Africa, trade those for slaves, take the slaves to the Americas, trade the slaves for natural resources, and then take those natural resources and trade them for material goods, okay? And right around the thing. So it was all about profit, and we don't use this human exchange system anymore, but we use one similar to that. Now, just to kind of turn in some current events things. So in the last couple of days, Trump has been talking a lot about trade. Okay? A lot of Republicans, pro-business Republicans, are a little bit scared about what he's saying. What is he saying that in the minds of a lot of Republicans, pro-business Republicans, is so dangerous? Yeah, Al.
He actually cut off, or he said something about the Trans-Partisan Party,
Trans-Pacific.
TPP.
Trans-Pacific Party, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And he said something about them. All I know, basically, from what I've read, is that he essentially said we shouldn't be a part of it, we need to pull out of it, and has vowed or has said that he would pull America out of the TPP.
Okay, so, and there's two systems he's talking about. One is NAFTA, and that is an agreement between Mexico, the United States, and Canada. And he's going to pull us out of that, supposedly, or at least renegotiate it. And then the one Alex is talking about is a trade system with a bunch of Asian countries, okay? But why would a pro-business person say this is not good? Yeah,
Because we're losing money on it.
I'm sorry?
Because we're losing money on it.
Okay, Not only that, we're slowing down the system of exchange. And in essence, what Trump wants to do is go backward in time and to a period when we were just producing stuff for ourselves, okay? But what are some of the possible consequences? Some economists are saying, if we're blocking trade with other countries or refusing to trade with them, there's gonna be some bad consequences. What are they?
War?
Okay, could be war, okay, which isn't cheap, okay?
More
What else?
deficit?
How about,
Pollution
I
that
think
is
the-
happening in China.
what's that?
The air pollution from China could end up happening here as well,
Okay,
if everything becomes industrial.
well, actually, it already is coming over here.
Oh, yeah, it is,
We're
but
getting
it'll-
some of their coal smoke here in Washington State.
I think it can affect the relations between the countries, and so maybe there's something that we really need that they have that we're not gonna be getting too, you know what I
Okay.
mean? It like strains the relations.
If we,
Domino effect.
go ahead and explain that.
Well, we stopped trading. Other countries that trade with us, they're not sending their stuff over here no more. We're not sending stuff out, everything starts to fall.
What happens to the cost of
Jobs.
things?
Goes
It
up.
Goes up.
Goes up, okay?
Making it
Now, what Trump is saying is, we're gonna bring the jobs back to the United States, and, you know, we're gonna have good salaries. But,
Yeah, right.
but in the long run, an economist would say, yeah, you'll get that for a short period of time, but, the costs will go up and that'll erase all of the benefits you think you're getting. And then you also lose control, because, for example, some people said war. Well, there's a theory that says, if you're trading with people, you're less likely to fight them, okay, if you can make money. I mean, you guys ever had a boss you really didn't care for, but you went, worked for him or her anyway?
Yeah.
Because-
Because you needed the
Well,
money.
that's how it worked in World War II, didn't it?
So, you'll put up with a lot of crap if
Yeah,
you get paid for
yeah,
it,
We were
okay?
trading with both sides.
So, anyways, that's,
Isn't that how it worked in World War II? We were trading with both sides until we got involved.
well, we cut
Or was
back,
that World War One?
it was more World War One.
That was World War One.
That we trained. But, you know, what happens after World War I is the United States becomes insular, okay? We get involved in this world war, we're on the winning side, we go back home, and we say, okay, we don't need any more of that, all right? So we pull our troops out of Europe, we don't get involved with the League of Nations, and we have huge trade tariffs, and what happens? We end up with the Great Depression, because there's a shortage of money. And that's one of the things as a historian, I would say Trump should be aware of is, if you slow exchange down, you're asking for a world of hurt.
Japan did that
Yeah,
too.
you don't
for
think of that, he's
a
Republican.
few centuries.
Okay, well, but a lot of Republicans would say he's not really Republican because they're more for free trade, so. But yeah, I mean, he represents a wing of the Republican Party, so
I know that Japan did that too. They shut themselves off for like centuries until.
Well, look at North
Well-
or South Korea or North Korea, whatever, same thing.
well, same
South
thing.
Korea.
Yeah, China, in the Middle Ages, they don't have, the Dark Ages. Their knowledge is exploding in China. But then they decide, okay, we're gonna build a wall, right? And they build a Great Wall of China, and they become insular, and they basically stop progressing. And, I mean, you would say they're a pretty
Too much.
strong country today, but they're still not as strong as us. And one of our strengths, in my opinion, has been the idea that we let ideas and people come and go across the borders. And you're right, you can't let anybody
I
come
mean, look
in.
at
The
Cuba.
Great Wall of China
China's
is
got
an
the greatest
excellent
commodity,
example of what's going
We-
to happen.
Well,
They got 7 billion people.
But if they have no work and not enough work for all them people, what do? You still gotta
send them over
feed
here
all
to
them
work,
people.
that's what.
okay. What were you saying?
The Great Wall of China is an excellent counterpoint to Trump's wall that he wants to build.
I don't know if he's heard about it though. Okay. Let me mention one more thing and then we'll wrap it up for today. So here's another way that humans are able to tap into more energy, and it's called the Neolithic Revolution, okay? Now, have you guys ever heard of the Fertile Crescent?
Heard of it?
It's
Okay.
a place in the.
Have you ever heard of the Garden of Eden?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now, if you use the Bible as a history book, which a lot of people do,
Right.
where is the Garden of Eden supposed to be?
Except between the Euphrates River, the something river.
The Tigris, right here.
Yeah, the Tigris and
Right
Euphrates.
around where Iraq is.
Yep, they
Okay.
found it, right? They found it, like,
So, it's called the Fertile Crescent because this is where man first learned how to domesticate plants and animals, okay?
Mhm.
And what that does, of course, it means you don't have to walk around as far to get something to eat. So now you can actually create more calories than you consume, and then you can also create excess, okay? And if you read in the Bible, how is the Garden of Eden described?
Green and beautiful
Yeah.
and lush,
Lush
full
garden.
of fruits and whatever
If
you want.
there are parts of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers that are still like that,
Mhm.
okay? So, now, the places around it aren't doing so well, but what historians think is that's because it was over-farmed. The people that back in that day did
yeah.
not understand proper farming
Right.
techniques, okay? So,
Easter,
and then this whole thing comes to the Americas about 8,000 years ago, okay? So, why don't we stop there? Because I want to talk about money becoming symbols. But remember, it's all about energy. That's what it's all about, okay? And then once you get your energy needs taken care of, then you can have things like jewelry, a car, and stuff like that. But currency is created initially because humans need energy, all right? We'll talk next time about how it morphs into other things, all right? So, and then I'm gonna, next week I'll show you a video about some people in Kenya who, all they do is, they don't use money, they just push a button on their phone to get what they want.
Wow.
So,
In Kenya?
yes, of all places.
Yeah, that's weird. That's one of the poorest places,
Yeah, but
right?
because this form of trade is perfect for them, because there's not a lot of banks around, not everybody can afford a cell phone.